Hey, I am Brannon Beliso. This is what? Friday, January 16th. Man, it's just already moving. 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the West Coast. Th- Did I say I'm Brandon Beliso? This is Success Never Sleeps. Where we as a collective, a group of people, we're trying to figure out this thing called life. We want to do better in our businesses, want to do better for ourselves, our families, and we're predominantly martial arts school owners. Cool. So let's begin. As always, we got to thank our sponsors. We have Market Muscles. We have Tucson, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. Again, all people that I love and work with, I trust, I believe in, and they've impacted my businesses tremendously. And they can do the same for you. Set up a discovery call, talk to them, and see if they're a good fit for you and what you do. All right. Our It's Time group mentoring, loving it. We're in our special edition right now. We have school owners from all over learning firsthand. My commitment to the small school owner is unequaled, right? The big guy with 10 locations, he doesn't need our help. But the majority of our industry is made up of the mom and pop school owner. You need our help. We are not consultants, we are mentors, and our purpose is simple to help you create your vision of success and hopefully the level of wealth that you need to create the freedom you deserve, to own a home, to take care of your family, to save for retirement, to go on vacations, and ultimately pay somebody to do it for you. That to me is all earmarks of a successful business. Cool. So schedule a discovery call with any of us. Reach out to us at Facebook, Marco, Monique, myself, Jason, and we'll be happy to have that conversation with you. Cool. All right. I do 8 to 9 hours of Zooms a week now. And so I'm really privy to a lot of different situations with school owners, challenges they're going through, the different things like that. And in my conversations, I learn a lot, right? How am I going to serve you if I don't understand who you are, what you're going through in 2026, not 2000 or 1980 or whatever, in today's real world? And it's asking questions, I think, that are super important. Um, and I'm ever mindful of that. Cool. So let me say hi to a few people who we got. Bob Poole, Goals Martial Arts. What's happening, sir? Really, really good. And I'm not sure who the other person is, Marco. Maybe you can take a look. I don't know if they're a school owner or who they are. Because we've been having people joining us, huh? Huh? And so my passion for you is unequaled. You know, I want you to succeed. There's nothing better to me than the underdog, the hoi polloi, the common man. To see them rise up and overcome adversity is so just warms my heart. You are my purpose, right? No big deal if a millionaire makes another million. What is that? But when you see somebody come up and just go from 60 to 100 to 200, it just makes my day because it's a much harder road to hoe and you don't know what you don't know. So you're struggling through this and trying to figure this thing out. And you don't have the money to pay a mentor. I get it. I get it. But, at some point, if you don't reconcile that you need to invest in your learning, then you're always going to be, what is it, a dollar late and a day short? I don't know how that goes, a dollar short and a day late. But I want you to be mindful of that. Take a moment and reflect on that, right? Learning and knowing are two different things. And a great mentor can take you from learning something to applying it practically so you have the knowledge to generally impact your business, right? And the community that you serve. So I want you to be mindful of that, okay? Mm. Is that a school owner from Bangladesh, Marco? Wow. I don't know. So, what are we talking about today? Systems. We hear that a lot. Systems, systems, systems. Now, with that said, I think what's more important for me that I want to be very, 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 very mindful of is that people talk about systems, yet they do nothing to create them or engage them or make them part of their their business. And I can't express that enough that we all people come to me from all over the world. I need systems. My first question to you about that is why? Why? Why do you need systems? Before I get into this first slide, Marco, right? Why is it that you believe you need systems? Go. Anybody put it in the comments? And if you're coming aboard, say hi. Tell me where you're tuning in from because I would appreciate that. Cool? Right? Think about that for a moment. Right? Why is it that you need systems? Go. Right. People can't answer that, but they're told all the time they need systems. So let's get into this, Marco. Give me the first slide. I'm going to tell you why you need systems. A systems driven business has the discipline to consistently execute processes through good times and bad on a path to success. That's really it. Classic example, a book you better read is E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Please read E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Now, there's a lot of books out there that talks about systems. The reason I'm such a big advocate and fan of E-Myth is because he took the model of McDonald's, right? And he does nothing but admire Ray Kroc. And I have a certain admiration, not for fast food, but just for Ray Kroc's vision. And fundamentally, Ray Kroc understood that systems were the key to consistency. Consistency earns trust. Case in point, if I go to a McDonald's in China and order a quarter pounder with cheese, and I go to Canada and order a quarter pounder with cheese, I go to San Francisco and order a quarter pounder with cheese, I go to New York, it will taste exactly the same. I trust that. I trust that, right? I trust that because it's based upon systems. They all make a quarter pounder with cheese the exact same way. And of course, on the back end, they're getting the same ingredients, right? But they follow the process of making a quarter pounder with cheese the exact same way. But what was brilliant about that was they took the lowest common denominator, a high school kid, very little work experience, and they wrote a system for them to perform extraordinarily. That's what I find so brilliant about Ray Kroc and what he's done with McDonald's. They built an empire on the shoulders of high school kids. That's pretty phenomenal. That's pretty phenomenal. And again, the reason I think that's comparable to what we do, people, is because a majority of our staff are high school and college, right? A huge majority. Maybe not your lead guys, but your support staff and day camps, after school, on the mat. They are high school kids, are they not? Are they not? They are. They're high school kids. So for me, it's really important. It's real important. And so studying E-Myth by Michael Gerber, please do so. So we all get that, right? If we have systems in place, we can consistently deliver on our brand promise. And if we can do that, we earn trust. Next slide, Michael. What is a system? It's a set of detailed methods, procedures, and routines created to carry out a specific activity, perform a duty, or solve a problem, right? We use them all the time. Let's use McDonald's again, case in point. Frying French fries. Okay. Step one, go to the refrigerator. Step two, open the door. Step three, take out the bag of frozen French fries. Step four, walk over to the French fry machine. Step five, right? Put this amount of frozen French fries into the basket. Step six, set the timer. Step seven, lower the basket slowly as you count to 10. Huge, right? You drop that thing into hot oil, it's going to splatter everywhere. So again, these steps are written to explain to somebody safely, efficiently, accurately how to do this. Step 11, right? Once it goes ding, 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 right? You lift the basket up. You shake it 4 times. You let it sit there and drip. Then you throw it into the, open pan. Then you take the scooper. It's a whole system. You with me? So that's really what it does. A system enables everybody to consistently deliver. And in your school, the biggest mistake that you have no systems in place is when somebody comes up and says, well, Mr. So and so said to do it this way. And you're like, what the heck? Just do the technique as I'm teaching it now, right? That's a clear indication. When you have two instructors teaching the same technique and it's totally different, that means you have no systems in place for delivering your curriculum. And that is where we make the bulk of our money on the mat, in a class, teaching it. And I want to come and get the same consistent experience. Doesn't matter who's teaching. You with me? All right, next slide, please. Systems equal freedom. I thank God every day. You know, I work 1 day a week in the school teaching on Thursdays, and the rest of the time, both locations are ran. My first location, I haven't taught in that place in a decade, other than one kickboxing class, because we have really, really, really strong systems in place. Okay. And so systems for me offer you the freedom to work on the 20% in your business, not the 80. You know, we hear that one all the time, right? You got to work on the 20%. You got to work on the 20%. You got to work on the 20. Well, most of you are small school owners. So guess what? You have to do the 80 and the 20. That's the way it is. You open the door, you take the money, you teach the classes, you clean the school. That's the 80%, right? You market the school. That's part of the 80%, right? You balance the checkbook, you buy uniforms, whatever. All of that is the 80%. See, but the reason nothing changes is because you never work on the 20. The 20 is vision work. That's how you grow your school from 100 to 200 to 300. That's how you choose to open a second location. That's how, you know, on and on. That 20% nobody ever gets to because the 80% isn't systematically ran so they can get away from it to do the 20. You with me? You with me? So stay with me on that. Systems make everything more and more efficiently. That's a given. Systems offer increased productivity. Systems help to minimize error, reduce costs, and increase profits. That's a big one for any company. If I know the systems that are, running optimally, they minimize the errors, then guess what? Your retention improves, right? Your retention will improve if I'm not constantly making mistakes on the mat or my team, right? In our behaviors. Reduce costs. Absolutely. If I'm running with a better team, a more highly trained, systems driven team, I don't need 10 people on the floor doing the job that one person can do if they were trained well. And I can pay that one person better, even better, right? And then, of course, increase profits. A highly trained, systematically executing team is going to make you more money. That's a given. And then systems for me improve the quality of your service all the way around, all the way around. And then systems empower your team with a skill set to perform their best. Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time I've done this presentation. And my biggest challenge is people don't see the value, so they don't do the work, right? Because it's not instant gratification, right? You run a Facebook ad, you get a new student, right? You work out hard, you get a good sweat, you feel like you've worked out, right? You eat a good meal, it tastes good, it's in your belly. See, there's no instant gratification when it comes to systems. Systems, are a long-term investment, long-term investment. Systems are a constant part of the work in what you do in your business, and often there's no satisfaction in the immediate, right? In the interim, it's long-term investment into these systems that help you get. I mean, I didn't start out working 1 day a week. I worked 7 days a week, 17 hours a day for almost 7 years before I broke my first million. But my dedication to systems and writing systems and bettering those systems is never ending because I know it's given me the freedom I experience today. And I know long term it'll continue to do that if I better these systems. Cool? All right, next one. And as you come on board, say hi. I love it when people are here. I love knowing where you're tuning in from all over the world. I'm just very blessed and grateful. And I don't feel like I'm talking to an abyss, right? So if you're here, say hello, tell me who you are, and tell me where you're tuning in from. Cool? And so you already use systems, people. You use them all the time, right? Most of them are executed by you innately and only live inside your head. I think that's one of the bigger problems is it's easy. Just easier if I do it myself, right? It's easier if I do it myself. I get that one a lot from school owners, because writing a system, training people on the system, implementing the system, and monitoring the system, that's a lot of work. but systematically over time, it gets easier and easier, right? It's this first part. And like Jim Collins said in Good to Great, it's a BHAG. Writing systems, training people on systems, implementing systems is a big, hairy, audacious goal. BHAG. It's a big flywheel, right? You go like this, and it's, oh, I can't crank this flywheel. And you crank it again, and you crank it again, and you crank it again. Pretty soon, chunk, 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 and it's rolling down the track. It's the same thing here. And I think I'm beating this one like down to the ground today, Marco, because I've done this presentation, and so many school owners just give up. And I don't want you to give up 5 minutes before the miracle. These systems can make all the difference. So, how do you do that? You got to schedule in time daily to get those systems from your brain onto paper in written form. Now, don't ask me for my systems. Why? Because my culture is not your culture. And that's where people get stifled. Because really, as it says on the bottom of the slide, you are the architect of your business, not me. And if you're going to be that true architect, you need to write the systems because you're the one that's going to train the team. You're the one that's going to implement it. You're the one that's going to monitor it. You with me? So stop taking the easy route and asking me or anybody for their system. Cool? And hopefully today I'll give you clarity on how to write that. All right. Some of the system design can be done with your team, right? If you're going over the warm up or the stretch or something like that. But most of it must be done by you because you are the architect. Now, people don't like to hear that. People don't want to hear that, but I can't make this more clear on how this is something you need to have a hands-on approach and you need to make happen. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get, right? And I think that's a really, really, really good part about systems today for me is I'm really good at it. You know, when I first was posed that question by Tule of my studio way back when, he said, if you get sick or hurt and can't work a day in your life, how long would it be before you lost your school? And for me, it was 1 year. My family would be homeless and bankrupt. No. Oh man, that was the scariest day of my life. But it was also the most eye-opening and the awakening, right? And then I got into E-Myth and Michael Gerber and studied everything about systems that he wrote on and on and on because my family was in a volatile position and I wasn't home. On top of it being volatile, I wasn't home because I had nobody to teach. I had nobody to do anything because I had no systems in place. I wasn't training people. So I was very clear about that. Okay. All right. Next one, please. Ooh, elements of a system. Define, design, test, verify, and manage. These are the fundamental 5 steps of any given system. So you want to define it, right? Define the system. Why is the system needed? How will it help to fulfill your purpose? Who are you writing it for? And what are the elements needed? Let's take something as simple as opening your school. That's the first system I ever wrote. Why? Because I was a dork. I didn't know what to write. I don't know. What am I going to write? What system? And I get that all the time. What system should I write first? And my cue to everybody is write opening the door. Because everyone's going to have to do that, right? Right? Anyone who's going to run your school and you're not there, they have to open up the school. So, step 1, take the key with the red ring around it marked OMASF. Step 2, stick the key into the round lock because there might be several locks. On San Francisco, there were several locks. Step 3, turn to the left. High school kids don't understand counterclockwise. They don't understand 300. Just turn to the left. One complete turn. Step 4, take the key out of the door. Step 5, which was a big one, step back and pull the door away. Because all commercial property, we know the door opens outward. These kids are used to being at home, all doors go inward. So again, that was a very valuable step, right? Step 6, take 5 steps into the school. Step 7, turn to the right. Step 8, look at the keypad. Step 9, punch in the code. Step 10 became a lifesaver. Step 10 was wait until the flashing red light turns solid green. Because what happened was I had one false alarm. Second false alarm, $150. Third false alarm, $300. Wow. Fourth alarm, $450. I think it was at $300 or $450. I finally got that there was a step missing in the system because it was a silent alarm, right? and police were coming out, all right, trying to catch somebody breaking into my school, and the team was just walking away because I didn't write the step into the system. And the minute, again, because I needed to manage the system, right, I realized this step was missing. Once I wrote it in and trained the team on that step, waiting for the light to turn from flashing red to green, all the false alarms stopped. You with me? So that's an example. So the first system I want you to write is opening the school. Real simple, right? So after you define that system, they need to open the school successfully and not cost me all this money and false alarms. You design it. You design the system. What are the steps? And I think we kind of, gave you a view of that with opening the school. And how did they support the purpose? Well, nobody's living their best life if police are coming there every time they open the school and interrogating them. I'm not living my best life if I'm paying all this money on false alarms, right? On and on. Again, our brand promise of live your best life not only applies to our clients, it applies to my team, applies to my own life, right? Having to answer a call from the police and, we're here at One Martial Arts and somebody's here and they say they work for you and oh, what a stressful situation for everybody. So again, we design systems based upon fulfilling our brand promise of live your best life. Test it. Test the system, implement it, see what works, and fix what doesn't. I think that's the big thing for a lot of us is that we want it to be perfect. It's not perfect. It never will be. You think you got the best system in the world and down the road it becomes obsolete. But what I do understand, get it out is better than get it perfect, right? Get it out is better than get it perfect. You with me? Because how are you going to test this system? You're not. That's why so many software companies have beta testing, right? It's being beta tested. Give us your feedback. That's super important. I watch people suffer from analysis paralysis and never put a system out because they think it has to be perfect. No, it doesn't. You won't know until you get it out, and you have to be willing to do that, right? And then you verify the system. Use the test data to prove that it works, first of all, and then make more adjustments. That tweaking and adjustment is forever, 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 ever. It's never, ever going to stop. And then you manage the system, train the team on it, and constantly review the system regularly, right? And here's a case in point, and I use this one as an example all the time. We had an attrition in our white belt and our beginners, right? What the heck? We lost like 5 beginners or something at this one location. And I went, wow, all at once? How's that going on there, right? And then, so first we looked at when they were dropping out. And I think 3 out of the 5 was Thursday at 5 o'clock, okay, in San Francisco. All right. First thing we do, who's teaching it? What's the class time? Go audit the class. I went and sat there and I watched the class. Pretty decent class, right? He was missing little things like saying everybody's name 3 times during the class. They were missing, appropriate contact, a high five, a fist bump 3 times to everybody in the class. They were missing the interaction. It was sporadic. And then the energy, because they weren't following the systems of how to teach that class verbatim. The energy was going like this, right? High energy, low energy. Great energy in a class should be like this and go up higher, little peaks, but they shouldn't have deep valleys, okay? Curriculum, peaks, but no valleys. Write that down. And then last but not least, and probably the most important part when I was monitoring that system was they weren't interacting with the parent after class. There you go, right? So that was a big one. You need to interact, especially with the new parent. They're new. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what to expect here. That was happening. Checking in with the parent at the end of class. And then the other big element, they weren't consistently awarding our Kids Love Life Skills merit badges in the class and handing out the handout to the parents. Or at the minimum, tell them, here's the Parent Resource Center. Parents, go over here, take the life skills sheet. We're working on focus. Take the focus badge and make your child learn it at home. Even just that, they weren't doing that. And a lot of it was consistently. And what that comes down to is this. Your team is a bucket. And in the bottom of this bucket is lots of holes. You're putting in this information, this learning in the top of this bucket. And guess what? It's coming right out the bottom. Yeah. And that's human. It's not a big deal. I learned from Rudy Mick. who's one of my mentors, he said he worked in the restaurant industry. He said, this is the way it goes. Team, come over here. Put the salt and pepper shaker right here on the table. Got it? They walk away. He comes in the next day. Salt and pepper shakers like this. Team, come here. The salt and pepper goes like this on the table. Everybody got it? Comes in the next day and it's like this. Team, come here. Salt and pepper goes like this. Everybody got it? Got it. And see, you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with your team having a life outside of your school. You have to be okay with scheduling in the opening door system. We're going to do in January. We're going to do in April. We're going to do in September, right? However many times you need to reinforce that system, right? Because repetition is the mother of invention. You have to be repetitive. When I hear the frustration of school owners go, well, it's common sense, or even worse, I'll just do it myself. And that's such a victim mindset. You don't want to do it yourself. The purpose of this exercise is to train people to do it better than you, so you don't have to do it yourself. That's true entrepreneurship, right? When people are making you money, that's a good day. And you're doing nothing for it other than paying them for their time. That's a good day. You with me? Put it in the comments if you're with me. So again, these systems provide me with the freedom I have today. So we're going to define it. We're going to design it. We're going to test it. We're going to verify it. And then we're going to manage it. Cool. Next one, Marco. Effective systems training, man. This is a big one. This is such a big one because what I've learned is that I'm famous in my own mind. Write that down. You're famous in your own mind. So the best way to write a system is to just write it the way you do it. That's the fastest way to get it on paper. Our challenge today, in the culture that we live in, nobody writes. Nobody puts pen to paper. I do so much of it, right? Because it works well. I use my computer now quite a bit, but overall, nobody likes to write. I get it. So here's a prime example. I need to write a system for the warm-up. Okay? I need a system for the warm-up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to videotape it. Now, I can't throw the video into ChatGPT and say transcribe it. There are apps out there that will transcribe that video into text. Then take that text, throw it into ChatGPT, right? And I might even reinforce that. I'll put the About Us page at One Martial Arts or the kids page or whatever, just so they get the culture and feel of who we are. And I will say, write me a system that I can use to train 15 to 70-year-olds how to do the warm-up in my school. Then I plug in all the text from my warm-up that I had transcribed from the video. It will write you a system that quickly. Yeah, we didn't have that luxury 15 years ago, not at all. But today you do. Hear me, today you do. So what's the system? I'm going to videotape it, throw it into an app, let the app transcribe it, take the transcription, put it into ChatGPT and ask it to format it into a system so I can train people to deliver this. Boom. There you go. That's how easy it is today. And I can take any one of my curriculum videos right now and do the same thing. So let's say hypothetically, we're working on a form, right? The first 10 moves of it. I can take that form, transcribe the audio, throw it into ChatGPT and say, write this into a system. Don't change the technique so I can teach people to teach it. Boom. Yeah. So you have no excuse not to write systems today, long story short. But here's where things really can either go great or go awry. So effective system training. We sit at a table or sit on the mat, and the first thing we do is read through the system with the team. Number one, read through it, right? No physical movement or anything. Say it's the warm-up. We'll stick with the warm-up today. So we sit in a circle and we read. We take turns reading it, right? The system with the team, and then we discuss the system. That's the big one. Let's talk about it and let's answer any questions that you have. Very cerebral, very mental. Want to sit there and discuss it, right? Okay, great. So then we physically train the team on the system. We train them and we role play, right? So if it's a warm-up, we're the class, you lead the warm-up. We have it all scripted out, right? Running in place, push-ups, jumping jacks, sit-ups, right? Whatever it might be in your warm-up, we practice it. in real time. And then we have comments, questions, critiques. We go through all of that. Now, here's the big one. Creating an environment where your team can be successful in this process is crucial. I had earned a black belt. I was 17. I was sitting upstairs in our kitchen doing homework. And my father came out of the bedroom and he looked at me and said, "Go teach." What? Go teach. You're a black belt. But what I don't think he gathered was I was a skilled martial artist as a black belt. As an instructor, I was a white belt. I knew nothing. See, so I think that's one of the best ways to set up your team for failure is assuming because you're black belt through osmosis, you're a great teacher. And we all know it. There's a lot of guys in my school that are black belts that will never teach in my school. Never, ever? No, never, ever. They don't have the chops for it. They don't have the character. It's not in their wheelhouse. They don't want to do it. They simply want to be a martial artist. And that's why I see a lot of people fail. They're really, really good martial artists, but they're not even really good instructors. So they fail miserably. I see that in the UFC all the time, right? These famous fighters will open a business and it'll fail miserably. You're not a business person. You're a fighter. Get a skill set and become a great business person, right? Same thing here. So this step right here, number 4, right? I did all my work. We read through it. We talked about it, answered questions. We role played on the mat. You're ready to go. No, you're not. You are not ready to go. You need to shadow me. You come on the mat and you shadow me. Now, it's kind of like when you go into a restaurant, we've all been there, and you see the waiter, the main waiter, talking it up, doing the specials out. Right behind him, somebody's standing there with a little name tag that says waiter in training. They don't even have a name. They're a waiter in training. Who are you? I'm waiter in training, right? You'll see that. We've all seen that at least once or twice. I didn't get it at the time, but I understand it now, how vital that is to that process of setting up your team for success. Cool. All right. And then after that, you shadow them. Yeah. Yep. You shadow them. You stand back there. For me, for a while, and this was crazy because we use walkie talkies in our day camp and stuff. I'm sitting there with a walkie talkie cueing this guy. And what that's called in the real world, micromanaging. Stop it. Write it down. But there I was going, hey, do this, do this. And this guy's trying to get rhythm and teach and get into a flow. And every other thing I'm, talking in his ear. Bad choice. Don't do that. Ever, ever, ever. But be there like a lifeline. Be there like a sage on the side, right? I was back there by the front desk cringing sometimes, just going, don't do that. Don't do that. But you got to let them make their mistakes. You got to let them do that. But I'm also taking notes, getting ready for, not to critique, but to help them through my observations become better at what they do. Super better. They're already insecure to begin with. And then they're going to feel like they're being criticized. Really work on that type of communication as a level 5 leader. How can I communicate this, to the best of my ability when these course corrections, people don't feel like they're being criticized, right? That was a big one. That was a really big one. At least it was for me. I still have challenges on that. Ask Marco in our last meeting because I can be sarcastic sometimes. And so it's a constant. I'll always work on that. And then after that, me shadowing them, then they execute the system on their own. At some point, they got to spread their tiny wings and fly away. At some point, you got to let them go. Let them go make their mistakes. Don't micromanage them, right? Don't micromanage them. That's the worst you can do. You want to destroy someone's confidence, constantly lore over them, constantly be big brother, right? Just micromanaging them. Best way to kill the spirit of your team, best way to destroy the culture of your school. So then they execute the system on their own. That's it. And then you manage it, that system, and you adjust it as needed based upon data. Case in point, that white belt class that lost 3 people in a month, right? That data told me something's not right with our systems. And we went in and audited it. It's not that hard. I mean, think about it. Very simple. Oh, 3 quits. When was it? Thursday, 5 o'clock. What was it? White belt class. Great. I'm going to go check it out. And what am I looking for? The different systems. And as we learned, it was the interaction with the parents. It was not delivering the life skills consistently and awarding badges, right? and not sticking to the script. So it's not a big deal. I love the opportunity to better my business, right? And it's often that rough conversation you have with a team member where you say that, our purpose here is to live your best life. Our purpose here is to serve our students better. And our purpose here, is to create a great environment where we all feel like we're impacting people. Boom, let's go, right? Let's make course correction. Let's train better and let's correct that. Cool. And that's the effective system training. And step by step by step, if you do that, you will be successful. But as I shared, once I get it on paper, I remember delivering a system to the team one time, and it was like a run on, it was one long sentence for literally a page. And TJ said to me, "Sir, I don't get this." I said, "Well, why not? It makes sense to me." Oh, ding, 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 ding. It makes sense to me. Well, guess what? I'm not the one learning this system. I'm not the one that's got to execute this system. So I said, "Pray tell, sir." And at the time, I didn't have Chat GPT. He goes, "Well, the way it's formatted, we can't teach this to the instructors. It doesn't make sense." It was like one run on sentence. So it needed to be broken down with bullet points, step one, step two, step three, on and on and on. And I get that. So I really, that part of writing the system fast in my voice, it's not negotiable. It'll take me forever to try to figure out step by step by step how to explain this system to the team. So you just write it. And then, like I said, you transcribe it, right? You have the text, you throw it into ChatGPT, and you tell it, "I need a format so I can train people on it and they can use it and follow it in class." Done. Oh, that's one of the best parts about having AI now. That was never there before because you were guessing. You were guessing, right? Where AI will take the best information on system writing, the best information on how to communicate to a 17-year-old, and it'll take what you've written in your voice for that system and turn it into something amazing. Just amazing. I can't express that enough. Cool. All right. Next slide, Marco. Yeah, this one can be so overwhelming. Nothing better than a good latte. And if you're here, hey, say hi, all right? I like to know when people are hanging out. And I know you like to watch this at YouTube and stuff, but I count on people like Bob being here. I love you, Bob. And I appreciate that because, and Marco being here and the different people. So, I feel like I like being with people, especially when it comes to learning. Make a list of all systems you need to design. And that could be overwhelming, right? As somebody on our call today in our Kids Love Life Skills talked to me because it's a 3 and 4-year-old program. They said, "Well, what do you do if the kid pees on the floor?" I said, "Well, the parents on the mat with them in this class. So it's not really an issue. Mom is not going to bring a kid to class in the middle of potty training that's not wearing a pull-up. They're just not irresponsible like that." So I said, "Well, but I will tell you what we do if somebody pees on the floor, right? Right away, we move the class to an open area of the mat that's not soiled. 2, somebody takes that kid off the mat and they facilitate getting them cleaned up and putting a spare set of clothing on them, which we keep. 3, we put cones around the pee on the floor. 4, somebody's going to wipe up that pee flawlessly, no attention drawn. Class continues, and when it's all cleaned up and they wipe it down till it's dry, we move the class back into place. And what's ironic when we've witnessed it, when it's executed well, the class moves back to the middle of the floor and the kid's already changed into a new set of clothing. Boom. Then we put their soiled stuff in a bag. When mom picks them up, we give it to them. And they're like, "Oh, so sorry." And look at their kid and go, "Oh, where did they get those clothes?" We have them here. We keep them spare. But believe me, part of that system, nobody goes behind the closed door in the bathroom with that kid. 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door. Second person is witnessing, writing the incident report. That's part of the system. And they're coaching the kid through their changing into the new clothing. Right? And that's the brilliance of systems. So which one do you write first? Make a laundry list. Make a laundry list. And for me, the most important system is replacing me on the mat. Number 1. Again, the fear I felt when I was told if you get sick or hurt and can't work a day in your life, that was scary. And I can greatly say today, by the grace of God, if God took me tomorrow, that my team can deliver. my kids, my family would be fine. I mean, there would be a lull, but remember, I'm only physically teaching 1 day a week. The systems are in place, the brand is in place, the culture is intact. And that's the brilliance of something like Apple. Steve Jobs, when he died, Apple didn't miss a beat. They rolled. And to me, that was so inspiring because Steve Jobs is probably one of my mentors. I study Apple to this day. And to watch him pass away and to see, okay, the stock didn't drop dramatically, everything's still moving. That's an example of one, a purpose driven business, a culture driven business, but systems that are designed to simply promote and fulfill the brand promise and the culture. You with me? So make that list. And it's not uncommon. You know, my tactic is the same. You can write each system down on a post-it, post it on the wall, opening the school, cleaning the bathroom, calling leads, all that. And I try to say to people, on the surface, focus on the three R's. And I know this isn't correct: enrollment, retention, and renewals, right? You got to have systems to enroll new students. You have to have systems to, retain students, and you have to have systems to get people to renew. Those are the three fundamentals. And what goes under any of them? Retention is your warm up, your stretch, your system of teaching, and my advancement through the ranks. Everything should be systematic. Enrollment, God, that's everything from community events, parents' night out, to the brochures, your website, your Google business page, your Facebook page, your Instagram page. What events are you doing in the elementary schools? On and on and on. All of that falls under enrollment. And renewal, that's every day. Every day you renew that relationship through a kind word, through hello at the front door, right? Through helping them through their stripes. All of it, all of it, all of it, all of it. And then once you have that, you might have this whole wall here of Post-its. Then you break it down to 9. Then you break it down to 3. Doesn't mean you're not going to come back and get these, but then you do one. And in the book, The One Thing by James Clear, no, that's Atomic Habits with James Clear. Who wrote The One Thing, Marco? Who wrote that? So in The One Thing, he talked about do one thing until it's done, right? Do one thing to it's and number 3 there, I can't complete each system before going on to and writing the next. It is so powerful when you get it. When you write one simple system, and me, that one of the false alarms in the front door at San Francisco, it was so empowering to be able to troubleshoot that system, right? And eliminate the cost of those false alarms. It was so empowering, so empowering. So you got to complete one system and implement it. And once you see the value, then one system becomes 2 systems, 2 become 3, on and on and on. Take a deep breath with me, people. Take a deep breath. All right. And next page, Marco. Is there another slide or is that the last one? Let's write a system. I think we did that with opening the door, but let's touch the warm up for a moment. Okay. So what do you do first? Run in place. All right. Step 1. Well, there is a different step 1. Line them up. Okay, everybody on a black dot in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. What's step 2? Turn up the music. What's step 3? Run in place. Okay, great. What's step 4? Push-ups. What's step 5? Right? And everything's done in 30-second increments in our school pretty much. Even shorter for push-ups and stuff. But our warm-up, our stretch, and our live talk is 5 to 8 minutes. If I ever see somebody at 10, 15 minutes, we have a conversation, right? We have a conversation because we're very mindful. It's scripted out where everything's really, really tight. And it's systematic is a better word on that, right? So again, why do you need the system? 2, write the steps. 3, right? Get it from being in your voice to a voice that everybody understands. 4, train the team on it. 5, they shadow you, you shadow them. 6, you let them loose and then you monitor it. Yeah, I mean, that to this day, that's all I do. How can I not be in San Francisco for a decade and it still do what it does? I study the systems. We look at the KPIs, right? How many enrolled? How many quit? What's our dropout rate? All those things. That's the data that really tells you if it works or not. Some guy said to me that, I have perfect retention, 0 attrition. Dude, but you've had 100 students for the past 30 years. Something's wrong there. You're not enrolling enough, right? Something's not right there. And so I think that's the big thing with that is, are you willing to admit that maybe it's a systems challenge that you have in your business. I don't know. I don't know. Right. But I want you to write a system. Right. I want you to write a system. Next one, Marco. Yeah. And that's really it. I mean, I can't express that enough. The freedom I experienced today, because I painstakingly, and I'm going to call it painful, because I would drive to Starbucks every morning after dropping off the kids at school and sit there. And sometimes it was really cold where I sat in Starbucks, and I'd sit there, step one, step two, step three. So many times I wanted to quit. So many times I wanted to give up on that because it was easier to do it myself, right? And there was no instant gratification. There was no dopamine dump. There was nothing going, yeah, all right, this is the best. There was there was nothing. I was just sitting there writing it one, two, three steps at a time, right? And going through that process. And here I am now, right? 10, 15 years later. And I have to go, wow, I'm so glad I did that work. I am so glad I did that work. And again, with the leverage of AI, you can write these systems better and faster. You really, really, really can. And you don't have to necessarily spend 3 hours in Starbucks, but the efficiency of throwing a system you wrote into ChatGPT and getting it reformatted so you could train people on it, ooh, it's crazy how fast you can do that and how well. So deciding systems is where the real work needs to happen. Again, read E-Myth by Michael Gerber. A great fun movie to watch is The Founder with Michael Keaton, and it's all about Ray Kroc. But the scene in the movie that was most impactful for me is when they were on a tennis court and they had tape on the floor or something, and it was basically the layout of a restaurant, of the kitchen. And they were showing systematically how they would flow from grilling the meat to buttering, to putting condiments on the bun, to the lettuce, to the tomato, all the way up until when they delivered it to the customer, right at the counter, at the cash register. It was just brilliant. It was just brilliant because he had the vision because nobody was doing that back then, right? Mom and pop business, they just made damn hamburgers. Whereas he believed if we could systemize this, we can do what? Scale. Yeah. Again, quarter pounder cheese in China, Italy, Canada, New York, San Francisco, they all take the same because systematically they were designed that way. And that system allowed them to do what with McDonald's? Scale it. It allowed them to scale it. Yeah, pretty cool, right? And we can apply that to our schools, at least at the level of where you don't have to teach anymore if you don't want to. And you're making the kind of money, that really can be impactful, right? You need to do this work daily. I can't express that enough. I can't express this, and I can't say it again. I can't express it enough because consistency is the key to your success, right? That's it. You got to carve out that time and do it daily. Discipline yourself. I say, here you go again. I know I'm driving this one home, but you got to discipline yourself to make the time to do this work consistently. Yeah. Consistency is the key, right? This work is crucial to achieving personal and financial freedom. All right. I think that's the last slide, Marco. So, what are your thoughts? What are your takeaways on today's show? I hope I've really, 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 really stressed the importance of systems because without it, I would not be where I am today, without a doubt. Fortunately, I had that aha moment. And I think Braden was, I don't know, 3 months old, right? And Kim was back home, and I'm going, my God, my family's going to lose everything if I get sick or hurt, right? We can outsource accounting, we can outsource janitorial, we can outsource the marketing. But you know what I couldn't outsource at that time? The teaching. I had a bunch of teenagers and me. Wow. So I really, really saw that just as, it was fear-based thinking in that moment, but hindsight is foresight. I am so, 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 so grateful that I had that aha moment and I wrote those systems. But make no mistake, I mean, staying the course is not easy. Once I had everybody in place and I made the announcement I was going to stop teaching, within 3 months, I lost 100 students. And they were mostly adults because adults were just very adamant. If you're not teaching, professor, I'm not training with a 17-year-old kid. I get it. I get it. But we are a kid-centric school today. People with disposable income, there's always an influx of kids. For me, it's a better demographic to work with than adults. And at one point, we were adult heavy, really, really adult heavy. But again, I did see that as sustainable, and because it was very personality driven, right? I had to be the one teaching. First month, down 10,000. Second month, down 20,000. Third month, down 30. But by the fourth quarter of that year, we had our best quarter ever in business in all the years we had been open. So again, I stayed the course. I stayed the course. And it's powerful because it gives me the freedom I have today. Cool. So, what are your big takeaways today? Anybody? If you want to throw something in there, I'd love to answer your questions. Any takeaways before we wrap this up? Nothing? I know it's overwhelming. It just simply is. And I get that, right? I get that. But again, whether it's McDonald's, whether it's Ford, whether it's anyone, the ability to have amazing systems for people to perform extraordinarily is the key to your freedom and your financial growth. Cool. So let's wrap it up, Marco, if nobody has any questions. So let's start by thanking our sponsors, please. Tusa, the best, one of the best when it comes to martial arts supplies. Because what I've learned over the years, people aren't going to get it right, but they always make things right. They miss a belt order, something doesn't come to you right. I promise you, everybody at Tusa, Gunny and his family will make things right. Market Muscle, Stephen Reinstein is brilliant, brilliant at everything he does. His websites were born out of him loving to make websites as a 13-year-old, him wanting to help his school, his teacher, and creating websites for us today is rooted in that mindset. My studio, Tule and the gang. I love Tu. I love Lynette. Again, they're not flashy. They don't have a lot of stuff, exploding and commercials like that, but they really put their money where their mouth is. They let their product speak for itself. A CRM system is CRM, customer relationship management, right? They can pay for classes. They can sign up for events. They can update their credit card. You can SMS each other. You take in leads that way. So fundamentally, most CRM systems on the surface do the same thing. The big difference is the team in the background. Are they innovating? Are they updating? If you're getting updates all the time, that's a good day. That's a good day. That means they're always bettering their product. So when it comes to software, that's a must. Kids Love Life Skills. We had our second big training today for excellent kids. The big thing about that, they come for the kicks and punches, but they stay for character development. Why? Because there's no hope in a front kick. But if you help my child become confident, I'm hopeful they'll have an amazing life. If you teach my kid to have discipline, to always do your best, I have hope they can be the better version of themselves. You teach my kid to pay attention, I have hope that they can learn better in school. So the big thing I shared, why I think life skills create an environment of hope and people believing, because they do just that. I watch my kid do a perfect front kick. That doesn't mean anything. I watch my kid talk with confidence, walk with confidence. I'm hopeful, and you instilled that hope in me. So you need a life skills component in your school to separate you from soccer, baseball, gymnastics, and all the rest. Cool. LC Accounting, my sister Letitia, I love her. She's a martial artist, former martial artist, keeps me straight and narrow, keeps my books tight, tells me when I'm overspending, tells me where it's okay to spend more, right? And she's always there. And then Kin Creative, Marco, we've all seen the tremendous impact, and we continue today. I have two of the guys flying into town, and we're going to cut new scripts for the next 2-3 days. That's a lot of places aren't doing that. You know what they do? They throw it into ChatGPT and say, write me a 30-second Facebook ad for a mom looking for martial arts for her 6-year-old. That's what they do. We painstakingly create stories. We write your stories. We send teams out to you to video. Man, nobody does that. And that's why I'm grateful to be part of Kin Creative. Cool. All right. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. Where can you find me? Well, you can find me, first of all, at YouTube. This show is at YouTube. This podcast is everywhere. It's at Apple. It's at, what's all the platforms? Marco, throw up that slide. There you go. All right. You can find me everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Yeah, the podcast is there. We've got a decade now, close to a decade of learning, and people are able to take the information from these podcasts. And if you can better your business and your life and your bottom line, I'm a happy, 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 happy camper. Cool. For everything else, go to brannonbeliso.com. Think about our group mentoring. We have a 1-month special edition going right now, which is free. which is free. And each week we're covering amazing information, and it's helping these school owners hopefully understand the value of a mentor, but more importantly, to impact their business so they can go out there and apply this stuff and better their lives and their businesses. Cool. So if you want to check into that, just give us a DM call. Hey, Art, I didn't know you were there, Art. Give us a DM call, DM to Marco, Mazzola, or Monique, or Jason, and we'll happily hop on a call and share with you the value of what we can offer you. Cool, 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 cool. All righty, folks. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. And until we talk again, please, 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 you go out there, live your best life.